microphone sounds, I want to invite everyone to turn their volume up on their computers far, far away from here in Russia, in Africa, in Thailand, and in Australia, I believe, as well as my favorite place in the world, second favorite place in the world, Venice, Florida. All right, so my name is Neil Vandery, and I'll be your officiator tonight. And it's wonderful to see so many people who've not been here yet before. By a show of hands, if you would, put your hands up if you've never been here before. Carlos and Suzanne and folks I don't know that I hope to know. Root is here, and others that I don't remember now at the moment. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you are here. And Marie is the only one who knows the secret that in the back two pews on this side, we don't film there. That's where the filming comes this way, so only the back of your head will be shown there. Tonight, however, we only are using one camera. But when we have our TV crew here, we often have 1, 2, 3, going this way, going this way. So you got to duck sometimes. But we always keep the last two pews on this side of the church for that reason to be anonymous, if you like. So you can be anonymous if you so choose. If you want to be on TV, then you want to be in the front row. That's always good. So I again welcome you, and I hope you enjoyed the snacks and beverages we had downstairs. When you consider gift giving this winter solstice, first think of love. The amount of money you spend, if any, should not be important. Feel no sense of pressure or obligation. Instead, give from the abundance of the Creator's love within you. From this wealth of spirit, you can give with no thought of return or expectation of appreciation. The true value of your gift is in the kind and loving spirit in which it is given. Also receive gratefully, knowing others experience joy through your receptivity. As you share your time, talent, or treasure this holiday season, give from your heart with joyous abandon. Giving with a spirit of divine extravagance, you are richly blessed. So again, tonight, some of you know, some of you don't, we are celebrating the lives of 330 people currently in cryostasis, as well as those lost loved ones of ours who have not been cryopreserved. Fedorov prophesied that one day all of those who died should and could be resurrected through some as yet unknown scientific method. Christianity proposes in the book of Revelations that all of those that have died and followed Christ will rise again. Buddhists, those following the path of the Buddha, believe in reincarnation, that after you die, you will be born again in a new body. Here at Perpetual Life, we embrace current technologies as we seek the solutions to unravel the puzzles of life and find ways to defeat death. There's a fine parallel between our ultimate beliefs and those of the Judeo-Christian and Buddhist traditions. The great difference is that here at Perpetual Life, we believe it is our sacred duty to act in accordance with known scientific principles and to find the way of resurrection for all through research and reason. I'd like to tell you the story about a man named Mac Johnson. Mac was caught in a terrible flood. He was a very devout and religious man. He put his faith in God every day, all the time. As the floodwaters began to approach his home, the police came through the neighborhood. They were warning everybody in the neighborhood, they have to go. Don't have time to pack your stuff. Get in the car, let's go. Mac is a big guy. They didn't get him in the car. He wouldn't budge. He told the police that he was okay, that God would not allow him to be harmed. Police didn't waste too much time. There were many other people down the road. When part of the dam broke, the first floor of his home was flooded, and all of his belongings, all of his stuff got washed away. He climbed up on the roof of his porch, of his 2-story home, and some men came along in a small motorboat and said, "Come on, Mac, jump, swim. We'll help you. We can save you." But he refused to go. He said that he still had faith that God would not forsake him. When the rest of the dam gave way, the floodwaters reached the very top of his home, and he climbed to the roof, and he had water lapping at his feet. And a rescue helicopter came and let down a ladder, and over the bullhorn, they instructed him to take hold and climb up, and still, Mac refused. Mac drowned that night, and after he died, he went straight from the pearly gates and addressed God and said, "Why did you allow me to die that way? Why didn't you save me? I prayed every day, morning, noon, and night. I went to church twice a week, did religious studies on Wednesdays. How could you let me drown like a rat?" And God replied, "Mac, I sent the police in the morning, I sent the motorboat in the afternoon, and in the evening I sent a helicopter to rescue you." Mac did not act. We must act. We as humans, the highest form of creation on this planet, must act if we want to save our lives, our families, and our friends, our planet, and its fragile ecosystem. All of the wonderful species that live here, we must not destroy. We must act to save ourselves and create a heaven here on earth, to create the earth that the Creator would like to see. We must act because if we don't act to defeat death, if we do not act to defeat death and eradicate aging, then who will? Who will act for us? We can count on ourselves, and we must rely on one another. And now I'd like to introduce a man who is always actively pursuing the solution to unlimited life and physical immortality. Douglas, let's all give a warm welcome to one of the founders here of the church, our own Mr. Bill Falloon. Okay, we need a microphone.
Let me just pick it up.
There you go.
Should I just pick it up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This year, 2015, is historic. It's the most exciting year in the history of medical science. For the first time, scientists at the most prestigious universities in the world are talking about enabling people to defeat biological aging. People who we are collaborating with are now making headline news. December 1st, 2015, we're talking about 17 days ago, the Washington Post published an article, and that article's headline is, "A Harvard professor says he can cure aging." And then they're questioning, is that a good idea? Which is one of the reasons why we set up this Church of Perpetual Life. The science is going to make it happen. We've got to get over these absurd-minded individuals who cannot accept and appreciate the virtues of scientific innovation. And, you know, there were people when air conditioning came around, they didn't feel they needed it. They didn't feel they needed electric lights. They continued to burn their candles and their kerosene lamps, and sometimes they would get knocked over and they'd burn to death. I had a great-great-great-grandmother who did not like electricity, and she died in a house fire caused by a kerosene lamp. Just didn't want to accept it. But Dr. George Church, you're going to start hearing his name more and more. He's a geneticist at Harvard, and he has identified a method to reprogram our genes in such a way that he believes he will enable us to grow biologically younger, enable us to eradicate or prevent any disease that may afflict us simply by reprogramming our genes. He calls it gene editing. And if you can imagine how it would work, you have some cancer cells going on in your body. Well, those cancer cells, they have genes that enable them to proliferate out of control. But if you can control those genes, hey, you've got something really big, because you can reverse those cancer cells back into normal cells. So Dr. Church is now grabbing headline news. He's been a celebrity in the scientific community for about a decade. But the work that he's doing right now may, within 4 to 5 years, enable us all to grow biologically younger. In fact, some of the predictions that are being made right now is that this therapy, once it becomes universally available, will enable everyone to be biologically young and remain healthy and vigorous. And if you've seen some of the previews for the TV show Limitless, I haven't seen the show yet, but it talks about using a drug to make a person a super person. Well, the technology that Dr. Church is perfecting at Harvard, in collaboration with some scientists that we are supporting in Southern California, is going to make that a potential reality. And we've got mainstream scientists now realizing aging is no longer a one-way street. We may be able to reprogram our genes to become biologically younger. And some of this research, by the way, has a relationship with the parabiosis research that we're pushing very hard here in South Florida. So this was major. Now, a couple days before December 1st, November 29th, all around the world, headlines blared. The first clinical study on human beings to see if a drug can delay the aging process. Now, members of this congregation aren't going to be surprised by what that drug is. They've heard me talk about metformin for a real long time. I've begged this congregation to go to their doctors and ask for a prescription for this drug, because it will slow down aging. It will prevent certain diseases. And right now, the headline news people, they're saying it. Now, the headlines are a little bit misleading. It says, new anti-aging drug could extend human lifespan to 120 years. That's what the headline on MSN Health and Fitness said just 17 days ago. Now, there's 2 errors on this headline. It is not new. This drug is 58 years old. It was first approved in England in 1957. Americans got hold of it in 1995. There was a 37-year delay before American diabetics could get their hands on this drug. But just now, for the first time in history, the FDA is recognizing aging itself as a disease, and they've approved a clinical study to see if it can really slow down aging in humans. It will not enable people by itself to live to be 120 years. The reason we know that is we've been recommending metformin for over 20 years, and we know it doesn't extend lifespan to 120. But the fact is, the media is picking up on what we have been talking about now since 1977. So we feel vindicated. We feel right now that what we've been advocating as it relates to a mechanism of action that metformin induces in the body, it's now being recognized by the mainstream. And we believe that this study has a good chance of working. We haven't had a chance to study the design of the study. They may do it wrong. If they don't prescribe metformin in a proper dose, if they don't test for certain contraindications, it might not work. But that won't stop us from recommending metformin. We've seen it work in too many other people, and the data is just overwhelming. Now, we're going to have these slides, by the way, up on the Church of Perpetual Life website, so if I go through them too fast, please understand they're going to be up there for your viewing anytime you'd like. But there's a lot of information. I just want to make sure you know it's out there, because that delay in approving metformin for 37 years in this country caused countless numbers of type 2 diabetics to suffer and die prematurely. And again, one of the purposes of this church is to promote healthy longevity, to remove these barriers that keep science from advancing at the rate it should. Now, Dr. Olshansky, he's a very famous anti-aging researcher, though he wouldn't call himself that. He's a gerontology researcher, very famous individual. He's been highly skeptical of inducing methods to slow or reverse aging. But he's very excited right now about metformin. So we're turning the skeptics around into thinking the way we've been thinking and preaching, frankly, for a very, very long period of time. I don't know how many people watched the presidential debates on Tuesday. They mentioned San Bernardino and the 14 people that were killed there probably 30 times, maybe more. 14 people died. I mean, it's a terrible thing. However, every minute in this country, 5 people die from the consequences of aging. Every minute. But at no time during that 2-hour debate was any discussion made about trying to do something about defeating the aging process. It seemed like the only risk we faced was at the hands of a terrorist. No one thought about medical research. Why don't we accelerate a way to cure cancer and vascular disease? It wasn't even discussed. All they could focus in on were 14 people. And every life is precious. But in the time that it took just to discuss it back and forth, 15 people died. That's over a 3-minute period of time. I mean, every hour, 250 Americans are dying from aging. Every single hour. And you look at just a minute. Again, 5 Americans every single minute. This is something that we're going to change. And 2015, that is the year that the media, by the way, this was a headline we took from a recent story. This is the year that mankind decided it's time to live forever, right here. I honestly never knew when this headline was ever going to manifest. We have been advocating it, as I said, since the 1970s. But mainstream people have picked up on it. And it's caused some very wealthy people to decide, let's start spending some money. So the billionaires are coming out and they're starting to write some checks. They are funding unique research that, if it works for them, can easily be disseminated to the rest of the population. So we've got some wealthy individuals, creative individuals, people who think outside the box. They're putting money into research. So they're following the tenets of this church, where we advocate that mankind take the initiative, that mankind facilitate the transformation of life into an era of abundant immortality, where there's an abundance of everything, including healthy lifespans. So we've got billionaires right now following the pathway that we forged so long ago and what the premise of this church is based on. So this has been a fantastic year. Favorable media coverage and scientific advancements that are enabling people to understand aging doesn't go in one direction. We can reverse it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in the lifetime of almost everyone here today. But the bottom line is, every single day, 6,000 Americans perish, mostly from diseases related to the aging process. And no one's talking about it on the political front. What I would urge everyone in this church to do, and bear in mind we don't endorse any political party here or any candidate, I encourage you though to write and call your congressmen, your senators, candidates, and saying, what about aging? What do you propose to do about accelerating research into the aging process? Let's try to make that a campaign issue so that everyone on all the parties, they all hopefully will say, well, some more resources need to be directed in that area. Now, Dr. Church, he's been able to raise $43 million to accelerate his research. He's fortuitous. There are hundreds of scientists just like him. They can't get any funding at all. So we need some government support here. And if you have an opportunity to talk to people running for office, you might want to say, hey, put aging on your platform, aging research, cancer research, research into enabling human beings to live longer. Because the 14 people in San Bernardino, terrible tragedy, but it's only 14. We've got 6,000 every single day dying of aging, a process that, with technology evolving, could be cured in the next 4 or 5 years. Again, 5 Americans dying every single minute of the aging process. We need to do a lot more. So year 2015, the year we decided to live forever. So I want to thank this congregation for showing up tonight. We're now going to commence with our annual service, the resurrection, the remembrance of the Resurrectables. This is really the purpose this church was founded on, is to never let the memory of these individuals die. So Neil, we're going to start the service, and I want to again thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Bill Falloon, one of the founders of this church. This church wouldn't be here without him. So the lights, Douglas? And this is the Remembrance of the Resurrectables. It also gives you a chance to light a candle here at the front. We have lots of candles so that you can light a candle and you can queue up, and when you feel moved to do so. What Bill didn't realize, because I didn't get to tell him yet, is that I spoke with Dr. Church earlier today, and we're in communications with him. We hope, fingers crossed, if you're watching Dr. Church, we hope to have you here to speak this year in 2016. We're working on that. I had the pleasure to speak with him, albeit briefly. So here we have the Remembrance of the Resurrectables. These are, first we will remember those who are in cryostasis. There's the Cryonics Institute, there's Alcor, there's Cryorus, there's Transtime, there's Oregon Cryonics. There's another one that's not, I think, American Cryonics Society. Thank you, Ben. Great cryonicist right here. I'm signed up for cryonics. I've got my new bracelet on. My neck, if you're wondering why I have a medical bracelet on, it's for cryonic suspension, should something happen to me. I happen to have great faith that I'm not going that way, that we'll have reversal of aging, but it's nice to have an insurance policy. If you're interested in cryonics, we can talk about this after the service. So, Douglas, let's go ahead and begin the names, and if you'd like to queue up for lighting candles, you're welcome to do so. We have this service every year. This is our Remembrance of the Resurrectables. The only thing analogous to it might be something within the Christian churches for Easter. You're first. Nikolaj Aspidov. James J. Baglivo. Deborah Lynn Cheek. Nadizhda Kostyanova. Jane Heiko. Cupcake. Du Hong. The Cryros private patients by first name. Alfred, Anton, Antonio, Elena, Emmanuel, Galina, Johann, Senija, Lidija, Lubov, Lusata, Ludmila, Maria, Mihail, Mihoko, Nikolai, Olga, Petros, Sergey, Susanna, Svetlana, Tatiana, Valerich, Vladimir, Zoya. Matthew Navaratapong of Thailand. Dr. Lawrence O. Pilgrim. Elizabeth Pugliese. Mariette Rose Selkovich. Ronald Selkovich. The rest are in memoriam of friends and family of the church that are not cryopreserved. Keep in mind that there are 330 people who are in cryostasis, but not all are or were public at the time of their cryopreservation. Gloria Avis Owen Gunther. Herma Jacobs, with beloved. Sorry, I don't know why. Oblikova.
Andrei Saharov. Susan F. Vandry. Susan M. Sue Vandery. Mikhail Veronin. Aaron Weisberg. Estelle Weisberg. Joyce Weisberg. Cryonics patients. Dr. James H. Bedford. Chihiro Asalmi. Margaret Bradshaw. John Bull. Joseph G. Cannon and Teresa M. Cannon. Fred Chamberlain II. Fred Chamberlain III. Lyubov Chernaya. John Connolly. Dr. Eugene T. Donovan. Wesley Ducharme. Viola Rose Dufault. Dr. John Erfurt. Elaine Ettinger. May Ettinger. Rhea Shalof Ettinger. Robert Chester Wilson Ettinger. Lydia Fedorenko. Hal Finney. FM 2030. Feridun M. Esfandiri. Dr. Andrea Foote. Helmer Fredriksson. Arlene Francis Freed. Michael Lewis Friedman. James Gallagher. Paul Garfield. Jim Glennie. Gregory Gropsky. Hugh Hart. David Hayes. Curtis Henderson. James Horahan. Richard Clare Jones. Dick Clare. Larissa Karpuk. Dora Kent. Yudmila Kiseleva. Sergev Kucherenko. Edward W. Kurt. Jerry D. Leaf. Alexei Lumzev. Dr. Richard Marsh. John Montz. Dr. Thomas Moonson. Darius Nelson.
William O'Reitz.
Stanislaw Penska. Henrietta Popper. William Reeves. Orville Richardson. Anita Riskin. Mary Robbins. Dennis Ross. Walter Runkel. Valentina Samikina. Nadezhka Sanikova. Rocco Roy Schiavello. Paul E. Segal. Svetlana Grigorievna Semenova. Sylvia Sinclair. James H. Stevenson. Kim Sozi. Peter Toma. Yulia Verteletska. Olga Visheva. Jerry White. Eleanor Williams. Patricia Luna Wilson. Kira Urasova. Jackson Jack Zinn. Leonard Zubkov. Ekaterina Zikova. More than 330 total souls. Tonight we also remember those other members of our cryonics family whose names are still private. We pray that they too, and everyone else that becomes cryonically suspended, will someday be resurrected and brought back to life with future technology.
That's good, Douglas. So thank you for attending this evening. I'd like to let you know that on January the 12th, a Tuesday, we'll be celebrating James Bedford Day. You noticed James Bedford, Dr. James Bedford was up on the board because he was the first person cryopreserved, cryonically suspended. So we have a celebration and a concert with Elaine Silver in celebration of the life and cryopreservation cryostasis of Dr. James Bedford. I want to thank Ben Best for the suggestion. We'll be talking with the mayor of Hollywood to get a proclamation to proclaim January 12th always in Hollywood, and perhaps we'll go to the mayor, or the governor of the state. We're going to work our way up with this bill. January 23rd, we'll have Dr. Michael Lustgarten from Tufts University. Some of you may know he did a TEDS talk, and he'll be here to speak on January 23rd, a Saturday. So rather than the fourth Thursday in January, we will be on the Saturday, January 23rd. February 25th, Maria Intrigas Abramson will be speaking. Many of you know her from SENS, Strategies for Engineered Negligible Senescence. On March 26th, we have the pleasure of having Dr. Catherine Baldwin here with suspended animation, presenting the Mobile Cryonics Emergency Vehicle. And then April the 23rd and beyond, we have dates that we're programming, we're planning some services. We have a program for the next few services you can get at the registration table. I'd like to invite you now to join with us downstairs in our celebration of life and our holiday celebration, our winter solstice celebration. We at Perpetual Life celebrate every holiday we can. So if it's Christmas or Kwanzaa, if it's the winter solstice or Hanukkah, whatever that may be, where's Shulpan? Ramadan, there you go. That's in December as well. Okay, whatever it is. I don't want to point you out, but I just like you so much, you know. And Tanya, I don't know what the Buddhist celebration is in there, but there is one. Yeah. In Thailand, there's a lighting celebration, but it's normally in November. Anyway, we try to take advantage of every possible reason to celebrate, and quite frankly, I love it, you know. And we do, though, our high holidays are going to be the winter and summer solstice and the equinoxes in the spring and fall. So those are our special Perpetual Life holidays. So join with us in our celebration as we have some delicious food and drinks downstairs, and a time also to chat, to talk, to discuss the things that we've said today and all the things going on in Perpetual Life. Thank you for attending the 2015 Remembrance of the Resurrectables. By the way, Doug's going to put these, so that you know, Douglas is going to put these slides on a loop. So if you want to read them, they are here, and they're going to go one more time around. Back it was hard to read, so thank you, Douglas.